Hello busy professional, welcome back. Today we will dive into our productivity tool stack 2024. All the tools that we use at the Paperless Movement that we recommend to others. However, word of caution, never ever just copy paste any tools or setups. We even don't recommend using templates just to try to copy others. And that's our mission at the Paperless Movement, to help you as a busy professional to set up your perfect tool stack the way you need it in your business and personal work life. However, the things are always easier to understand and get a better perspective if you see other examples. And that's why I want to share our tool stack today and also the thought process why we ended up with these tools. Let's dive right in. If you go to our websites, to our tools, there you see this image. And this explains already all the tools that we use. It might look complex at first, but you will see when we end the video how easy it is to understand how our productivity tool stack works end to end. So we see a bunch of tools. Now I could say, well, that's it. Now you can just go and use the same tools. But this is not enough, as we differentiate between core apps, which is what you see here. Then we have satellite apps. These are the surroundings here. We will dive into this later. And then we have also utility apps. So you see these are the core apps, and then we have utility apps. And these are some of the utility apps that we use in addition to run the business. However, crucial to understand first is that these tools, core apps, are defined as tools that are hard to remove from a productivity system. If we remove ClickUp from the Paperless Movement business, the business would be in danger because we would lose time setting up a new tool, migrating stuff over, and so on. That's why these are core apps. Utility apps, on the other hand, are things that are just enhancing our workflows and are easy to remove or replaced with better tools because it doesn't hurt our overall business. Again, we will dive into why we positioned all the tools in this video, so make sure to stay until the end because then you will have the big picture and the revelation that you then can apply to your own tool stack. But before we do so, I want to talk about the ICOR framework quickly, which is the picture that you see in the back end so you understand what I'm actually doing here if you never saw this before. So let's have a look at this map here. That's the ICOR framework. And it's divided into 4 parts. And we can just split this into these different sections, and you see immediately there's a business part, which is this one. There's a personal part, which is this one. Then we have an information and an action part. Going back to the bigger picture, so here you see that's the personal knowledge management, PKM. That's something that you probably know a lot when you watch videos on YouTube, when you try to become more organized. However, we think that the PKM part is for knowledge workers and students and just covers a small part of what professionals actually need in their work life. Because we identified the missing link between information and action. How do I actually move the information that I have in my PKM into actionable items, into projects, into setting up goals, and so on? That's why we have developed ICOR, which stands for Input, Control, Output, Refine, and defines a productivity system end to end. And on the ICOR framework here, we will lay out a tool stack that defines this productivity system end to end. Don't worry if you're getting confused, everything will make sense in the end of the video. So we have PKM, then we have PPM, which is personal project management, and you could also say task management. Then we have the BPM, which is the business project management. And then we have BKM, which is the business knowledge management. So you see already when we go back to the pictures, everything makes sense. Here in this area, we have the knowledge management, the personal knowledge management, and business knowledge management. And on this half, we have the project management, the personal project management, and the business project management. Now it's important to understand that how do we differentiate personal and business? Well, it's easy. The personal part is all about your personal work that you need to do in your work. We don't really mean things that you have to do at home, doing gardening or things like that, or private projects. Here we really focus on going into a meeting, you have a project meeting, you're getting tasks, and that's the business part where you have the discussion with the team, how to progress. And then you go back to your desk and you need to track the things that you just got, all the actions, and that's then the personal part. And that's why we differentiate between these things, because you might use different tools for the different work areas. Another thing, if you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, you're working on your own without a team, we still recommend to consider these business parts. Always pretend that you will work with a team. This will make later so much easier to scale your business. If you want to learn all the details on how to set this up and also see the tool stacks that our members are sharing, feel free to join our Paperless Movement membership, because in there you learn all these things step by step and how to set up your productivity system end to end. But now let's move forward on how we actually lay out the tools. And therefore, I just extracted the core apps that we have on the site. And now step by step, we will move all these tools in, and you will see now it's much easier to understand why we are using specific tools for specific use cases. So let's start with the PKM area, the personal knowledge management area. This contains note-taking apps, as well as capturing apps, read later apps, and things like that. We say core apps. Another definition of a core app is also that they are a single source of truth for a specific type of information. So thinking about the picture that we had before and looking at PKM, we had Heptabase in the PKM area, we had Tana in the PKM area, and we had Reader from Readwise in the PKM area. And if you don't know what Reader is, I just published a video about Reader versus Readwise, what this is all about. Have a look after the video if you want to learn more about Reader. Let's think about these three tools. Reader is a read later app. So if I find anything on the web, a YouTube video, an interesting blog article, things like that, I can directly send it to Reader and save it there. It stores there, and I can highlight in there. It also have AI integration. So to us, this is a perfect capturing application where I can quickly capture information. But there is usually the first moment when people start to struggle on how do I retrieve this information later on? How do I distill the information into something useful? Well, first of all, I always ask myself, is it worth saving somewhere? Or will I be faster to Google it later again? I always think about, will I use this in the future again? And if it is very unlikely, I don't even store it. I found what I was looking for, and then I think I might rather search it later on, because I need to have the most up-to-date information anyway. And if I store this current information, then it's not worth it. And that's now where we talk about something that we teach in our PKM myICOR Pro course, which is part of our ICOR journey inside the Paperless Movement membership. We differentiate between shallow thinking and deep thinking. And therefore we are using shallow thinking and deep thinking tools. So Heptabase to us is a deep thinking tool. If you want to learn more about Heptabase, on our YouTube channel, you find a lot of videos about Heptabase. There's even a free beginner's course about Heptabase, so feel free to check it out. But essentially, Heptabase allows us to drag information onto a whiteboard and think really deeply about the information. Tana, on the other hand, to us is a shallow thinking tool. So therefore, I want to save as much as possible information. I don't think about the way I write things down too much. It's all about quickly adding tags and retrieving the information later on when I need it. And Reader is also a shallow thinking application. So I can throw everything into Reader and forget about it. It's just all about the urge that I need to save it somewhere. And therefore, I'm calm that I know that I saved it and I can follow up later in this application. So Reader and Tana are both shallow thinking applications. And now, when I want to do deep thinking, I go to these applications and retrieve the information that I'm interested in, distill it and refine it, and bring it into Heptabase. And then in Heptabase, I only have distilled information that is really useful for deeper thinking about specific information. And there I bring this then to a whiteboard and connect the information. Of course, you might think now, well, I can use Heptabase. Many might only use Heptabase. It's like many are using only Notion for everything, for project management, for knowledge management, for all 4 areas. So you could bring it into the center Notion. Many do this. And we even recommend, if you're overwhelmed with your tool stack and you have too many tools, get rid of as many tools as possible and really think about what tool should I keep that helps me most, that covers most needs. And then use this as much as possible until you really recognize the frictions and the limitations when it comes to certain areas of your productivity system. So to us, it's crystal clear why we use Heptabase and what kind of information we store in Heptabase, and why we use Tana and why we use Reader. But maybe you just want to start with Heptabase and seeing how easy it is. One example would be why we use several tools is capturing. Heptabase currently doesn't allow easy capturing on mobile. Tana excels on this. It has a perfect capturing feature there to save everything. Reader is used because it connects with Readwise, and therefore Readwise syncs back all the highlights that we do in Reader back to Tana and to Heptabase. So I don't want to dive too deep into this, because if you want to learn more about Tana, Heptabase, and so make sure to subscribe to the channel or join our Paperless Movement membership. In the membership, you already have courses and implementation parts where we show how we use Tana and how we use Heptabase, how we use this in combination. It's actually part of the PKM ICOR Pro course. So now we defined this, and you see this is now a silo. It's closed. It's just my personal knowledge management. It has nothing to do with team sharing. That's for own thought processes. So what about BKM then? The business knowledge management. That's information that you want to share with the team, that the team needs to know in order to progress through projects. So first of all, we are using G Drive. Why do we use G Drive? Because we are using Google Workspaces, and G Drive is one part of it. So we have some information there stored. It also includes Google Docs, Google Sheets, and things that we use in there. However, when it really comes to file storage, and especially when it comes to marketing assets, video editing, and all this, we are using Dropbox. The issue that we found with G Drive is limitations in file sizes. And as we are editing in 4K and sharing a lot of data, Dropbox never had an issue when you have the local application running on Mac. So you see, we could use G Drive. We can even install it on a Mac and work locally on the Mac. So it's not like that we are using both in parallel and we store some data here and some data over here. This is where mess really comes if you don't define where the information is stored or what kind of information is stored in what single source of truth. So when it comes to video editing, I know exactly I need to go to Dropbox, and there is a video folder. There I have an asset folder where I have all the assets that I usually use in these videos, and so on and so on. And we consider this business knowledge management as well. Also part of knowledge management is Gmail. Gmail is a core application, and as we run on Google Workspace, we have our emails are based on Google servers, and therefore we have them. So now we could place this here. So you see here are overlapping parts of PKM and BKM. So by just placing the logo here, we indicate already that this tool is used for personal knowledge management and business knowledge management. Why? Because we have collaboration on emails. We are collaborating on the outside. So we're talking to members, to clients, and so on. We could also consider, and that's what you see currently on the website as well, could consider it here to have also the business project management part in here, because we working through the inbox of Gmail. There's a course in our Paperless Movement membership called Email Management ICOR Pro. And there we explain how you process email inboxes to achieve inbox zero daily. And therefore, we consider email also as a personal project manager, a task manager, where you process through these things, because usually you get already a lot of things done without moving to other things. So we explain in detail what type of emails should move into a project manager or a task manager, what type of emails should be replied immediately, and so on. That's why we place it here. But you see, this now immediately tells us, if a tool is placed here, that this is used for personal project management, personal knowledge management, and business knowledge management. Now let's move on, because the big question is, where do we really collaborate? Where do we have our project management? And that's where ClickUp comes in. We are using ClickUp. Paco, for example, he's running 3 more businesses besides the Paperless Movement, and therefore he has different tool stacks for the different businesses, because some tools work better in different business types than others. At the Paperless Movement, we use ClickUp, and for many cases, ClickUp works really well for many business cases. And we could place it here and say that's the business project management. And I think 2 years ago, there was still the setup that the ClickUp was used for business project management at the Paperless Movement, and Notion was the business knowledge management. in fact, it was even here a combination of personal and business knowledge management. So let's bring in Notion and move it over here. The problem is when we have Notion in business knowledge management and ClickUp in business project management, the problem that we found are several. So first of all, you have scattered information. This is the moment where information is separated from action. And we say ICOR is where information meets action. And that's why we're forcing always the things to build a single source of truth for both action and information. So Notion was always better in information handling with the database connections and all this. ClickUp is catching up, but probably will never reach the level from Notion when it comes to databases. However, the other way around, when it comes to project management, especially team project management, then we still believe that ClickUp is much better to use. So we had to make a decision, and therefore we decided to stay with ClickUp for everything. Before we did this, we used tools like Unito, which are tools that are connecting both together, and therefore you have the information on both ends. But introducing such synchronization tools brings also its downsides. You are limiting the information that you can move backward and forward, but it's something that's possible to do. However, considering that we also have to train our team on two different tools, defining a lot more workflows too. If you want to store some kind of information, then you go to Notion. Another type of information, you go to ClickUp, and find a project work, you stay in ClickUp. That's starting to confuse. And also when it comes to pricing, if you scale your business and you're running these two tools in parallel, well, then you're paying double the price. Therefore, we made the decision to kill it and live with the limitations that we have in ClickUp over Notion. However, it was very obvious that we became a lot more efficient this way because it's now so easy to retrieve information, talk about it in the comments at the tasks, and refer to all the other information in ClickUp. So how this looks like, we have videos on this YouTube channel where we talk about ClickUp. We also have the course ClickUp Like a Pro, where we explain exactly how we leverage ClickUp. So what does this mean? This means that ClickUp is actually placed here in the overlapping part of the business project management and the business knowledge management. And therefore we indicate we're using ClickUp for both. Now let's move into the project management or stay in the project management. Here we are using Google Calendar. Again, we're in a Google workspace, therefore we're using Google Calendar. If you're in a Microsoft ecosystem, these tools might be replaced with your Microsoft solutions, right? So here we have the Google Calendar that we use to schedule our meetings and so on. Then we are using Todoist in the personal project management part. It's Paco and me, as the founders of the paperless movement, using the same tools because we both think that's the perfect tool stack and it works for both of us. However, it's very likely that for you and other team members, this part might look completely different for your personal preferences how to work. Maybe there's tick, maybe there's things for your personal part. It's just crucial that you define for your business that you have very specific tools and understand why do you use these tools, because then your team also will understand why you use the tools and work a lot more efficient. Now moving in Sansama here. For those who don't know about Sansama, this is a planner application. And if you go to our website, there's an article where Paco explains in detail what's the difference between a task manager, a planner, and a calendar. There is a difference. So to plan out the day, we are using Sansama. And the beauty about Sansama is that it is connecting to Todoist and ClickUp. So therefore we need to move it here, as this is for personal planning. And now I get all the tasks that are assigned to me in ClickUp in Sansama, and it's not cluttered up with tasks from other people. Of course, you could go to ClickUp and just filter or go to home and see your own tasks only. However, here I have the superpower that I can connect it to Todoist or even a lot more other tools and see these tasks as well. Why do we need Todoist in addition to ClickUp? Well, there are a lot of tasks appearing that are also personal, maybe outside of the business, and you need to have a space to collect them. You could also use Apple reminders, for example. The reason for Todoist is really the connections, to have a centralized place where we see all these tasks. And the type of tasks that we save in here, that's something that we teach in our task management like a pro course, are speedies. They are called speedies because these are tasks that take less than 15 minutes. As soon as a task takes longer than 15 minutes, it usually goes into the project management tool. Here in the task management tool, we keep just the quick things to do. And therefore I can just go through the list when I have a block where I work through speedies. I could save 1 hour, and in 1 hour I'm able to complete 4 speedies, for example, each 15 minutes. So it's beautiful to have it in here, because now I can plan out my day and my week. We usually never plan more than a week ahead of time in Sansama. And you can lay it out on your calendar as well. And here it's important that we are not doing time blocking in a sense of that we block our time for each task. Imagine blocking the time for 15-minute tasks. Your calendar is very full with a lot of tasks, and it will never work because, first of all, maybe the task takes 20 minutes instead of 15. Or you have an event, a meeting, somebody calls you, and everything is messed up. So you keep replanning what you are actually working on. That's why it's really a high-level planning. Usually the tasks from ClickUp, those are the things that I plan out where I really block a longer block of time, 3 hours, to have a deep work session, because like we differentiate between shallow work and deep work, we here also in the project management like a pro course, we differentiate between deep work and shallow work, and therefore the project management, the tasks that take longer than 50 minutes is our deep work, and the speedies are shallow work. By understanding the differences of your task, you will already plan your day in a complete different way. You know that you focus now for 3 hours on one task, build up momentum, and you can really work on this. You're not getting distracted. And then you have these easy tasks where we see many people trying to do everything at once, or first work on the speedies and then they have no energy left to work on the important tasks. That's really why the definition is so important. And going back to business knowledge management, there's one tool that's really essential in our business actually, which is Slack. Slack is still our communication tool for so many reasons. And in Slack, one crucial thing, if you're using Slack or any other tool like Discord or any other communication platforms that allow threads, use them. Use threads in communication tools. It's crucial. Also in ClickUp, when you go to the comments, you can have threads in the comments. It's a single source of truth for a specific topic that is discussed. This is what we are forcing. We are so used to this, we always get distracted when somebody from outside comes to Slack and starts replying just in the chat below. I don't want to dive too deep into this because there will be another video where we talk about more about threads, but to us, it's essential. So now you see there are 3 tools left. And what you see here, these are our core applications. These are the applications. If you remove them from the system, it would really hurt our productivity. But you see the circle on the outside, and then I said it in the beginning, here we place the satellite apps. And satellite apps are defined as tools that enhance existing applications. So Superhuman, for example, we place here to indicate that this is enhancing Gmail. So this is, again, easier to understand what the difference between core and satellite apps is by now thinking about what would happen if I remove Gmail. I would lose all my emails, access to all the information over years actually, and Superhuman becomes useless as it needs to connect to an existing email client. So therefore, the other way around, if I remove Superhuman, the work could perfectly go on with Gmail. So by having this understanding of this differentiation, it's really helpful, because if you're chasing shiny tools, then this is already the sheet that helps you with decision making in this regards. Let's say you want to move from Superhuman to Spark. Well, remove Superhuman and start using Spark, or use even both in parallel, which is obviously something that we don't recommend, to use 2 different tools. However, if you want to test them, that's perfectly possible. It won't hurt your core application, your core productivity system. And that's something that we teach to our members over and over again, also in our coaching course. That's usually the revelation, the differentiation between these satellite apps that are just enhancing our core apps versus core apps that destroy the productivity setup the moment you remove them. So now if you decide that Spark works better than Superhuman, or you save money, or whatever the reason is, you just do this and you can just carry on. So that's just a personal decision to move on. Let's bring Superhuman back, as we love Superhuman. Also in the Email Management Like a Pro course, there's a 30-minute video where we dive into how we use Superhuman and apply all the concepts and workflows that you learn in this course in Superhuman. So then there is Vimcal. Vimcal is an enhancement of our Google Calendar. It is using shortcuts like it's Superhuman. Everything can be accessed via keyboard. It has more features. We also had an interview with the Vimcal founder. If you're interested in this, check out on that channel, our podcast, where we talk to him. And that's why we place it here. Again, you might be at Cron there, or any other applications, Fantastical or things like that, would be placed here that show that this is enhancing your calendar. And last but not least, we have Zapier for automations. Let's place this here because we have a lot of automations going on in the background. We have an automation like a pro course, which is part of the ICOR journey, where we show you when it is actually worth automating things and when it's worth to just do things manually, because you might be even more efficient in doing so. So here we, for example, automate blog post publications. So we finish everything in ClickUp, we just hit complete and everything gets distributed on the different channels thanks to Zapier. We also have Zapier for accounting. So we have our accounting software, so it's moving things forward there. So if you're interested to learn more about this, let me know in the comments below, and I'm happy to dive in and show you all the automations that we set up with Zapier. So you see now, it's a crystal clear overview of why we use the different tools with the understanding of the ICOR framework behind. If we remove this, you see it is just a confusing mess. And that's what people usually start with. They get to the point where they list the tools they use, but to give proper sense to it, this ICOR framework is essential in our opinion. And that's why it's also essential if you join the Paperless Movement membership. One of the first steps you do is laying your tools out on the ICOR framework and share it inside the community. So we can give feedback, other members can give feedback on your tool stack already, and you will get so much inspiration how to improve your tool stack just by laying things out. And even before you start the other courses, we have a lot of members who reduced their tool stack by up to 50% after laying it out on the ICOR framework and just getting the insights about redundancies. Because if you end up here with 5 different tools, then it becomes confusing. So you might ask now, but Tom, you talk about Apple Notes a lot on this channel as well. What about Apple Notes? Well, that's a good question actually. If you go to the utility apps, you see Apple Notes appears here in the utility apps. And the utility apps are really apps that have a specific use case, but if they are removed, they don't impact the overall productivity system in a way that it will destroy information or action, but they are also defined. So the Apple Notes appears here because this is what we consider a temporary note-taking app, where I just want to quickly write something down. Let's say I have a phone call, I want to note down a number or a quick note. I'm in many times faster to tap on my iPad and write this down, or on my iPhone, they open an Apple Notes app and write something down there instead of going to the final destination and try to write it down there. However, the definition is that after you're back on your desk or you have time, these things need to be processed and moved into the final destination. So always considering that I'm able to remove Apple Notes from my tool stack at any time without having the feeling that I have still information there that actually needs to go somewhere else. So this way it really stays focused what information lives where. Then we have Raycast, which is a Mac application that is amazing, enhancing productivity. There's also a video on this channel where I talk about Raycast and how I retrieve my documentations. So it allowed me to remove Evernote, a tool that I used in the past a lot for scanning documents. Then Miro, obviously. Miro is really essential. That's the deep thinking that we do as a team, being on Miro, because it's so easy to throw things in. However, it's not a core application, as we are not storing information there and access this later on. It's just working information. And once we made conclusions, these conclusions go into the final destinations in here. ChatGPT, really an essential part, not only in business, but also for my personal life. So many different things that I do with ChatGPT. And it's not write me a blog post about this or come up with business ideas or something like that. No. It's about reflection. It's really about getting feedback on how things are perceived. Also for cooking, I'm using it a lot for cooking. So I will share more information about how we leverage ChatGPT on this channel as well. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on this. ARC, it became an essential part for Paco and me, no doubt. It completely replaced Chrome. It's a complete different way of working. I made a video about ARC on the YouTube channel. Make sure to check it out if you want to learn more about why this browser really changed everything. It's also becoming available on Windows, so I have no doubt that this will replace many browsers for many people. Zoom is our collaboration tool. We have so many Zoom meetings per week here. When it comes to automation, the recordings are automatically saved in our Vimeo. Vimeo is not even shown here. That's the place where we store our course videos, but also the coaching calls and things like that, as it is easy to share. 1Password. It's a single source of truth for our passwords. And that's a tool that I use for ages already. And I cannot live without it. I don't know how people manage their passwords without a password manager. I was using LastPass for a long time, but 1Password excels in many places. Again, if you're interested to learn more about how we use 1Password, let me know in the comments below. And Calendly, essential tool when it comes to scheduling meetings. If we have people who want to have coaching, discovery calls, it's easy to send out the link and they know the schedule when they can book a call with us. None of the tools today sponsored this video or anything. It's really the conclusion that we made for the tools that we use. If you followed us over the years, then you know how we are slowly replacing tools whenever we something new. Now you understand with the core applications how hard it is to us to replace something. So if we do so, we are really convinced it's worth it. But it never means that you should change tools. And as I said initially in the beginning, it's all about your productivity and your way. And what we mean by this is really your productivity tool stack, that it needs to be individual to your specific needs. And we help you with the Paperless Movement and inside the Paperless Movement membership to find this perfect tool stack, to really identify the features that you need and then look for the right tools that provide you these features. So what do you think about our tool stack? How much % of this tool stack do you use in your own tool stack as well? What of these tools do you use yourself? Maybe you have some recommendations where you think, hey, why do you use this tool? Use a different tool. I really appreciate if you watched this video until the end, if you found it useful. Give it a like and share it with your friends and co-workers. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so I can catch you up next time.